Alright, I'm here to clickbait you into rage clicking because I'm going to explain to you why I stopped using the migration command inside a C#. When I usually run an ASP.NET Core application, I do the following. I got a program CS and I got like an ASP.NET Core app that's doing things here. And before that, I always want to check, is there a new migration? If so, get a scope and then call scope.database.migrate or whatever the command is. And the problem with this is the following. Now, let me introduce you to how you actually make a code-first migration. Because usually you would do .NET EF database migration, blah, blah, blah. You would add one, and then you would do .NET EF database update, right? You would, or .NET EF migration or whatever. Anyway, you would use a command line tool to make the migrations. And the point of this is that this is something you can do in your computer using a script. But this is also the workflow you have after you make a change to your model. And why do you do it? Well, after you make the change, you run the command so that your database is up to date, so that you don't have to do this, and this always has the correct database version as per whatever communication model, business models you have. And the problem with this, putting this in the C# code, is the following. This is more of an integration issue. Why? Well, I made my first integration script, my first CI script, and what it does is it clones the repo after a push has been made, and then it tries to build it, and if that succeeds, everything is good. If it does not, it aborts, and then it copies over the files, and then it changes a symlink, and then it restarts the service, right? Just basically deploying, but making it automatic. Right? I give somebody a new USB drive with the new files on there, and I tell them, please run this one now, and that's it. Now, when I am going to start integrating a database, the problem is that the database needs to be correct before the application starts. But the database itself can also break. All right? We have this build command. I don't know if it was this one, but one of them is the build command in the script. And the build command, it will test if the C# code is valid. It does not test if the migration code is valid. I want to make sure that this migration code is actually correct and not breaking the database. Now, you can make this as complicated as you want, right? You can have this set up where you have a secondary database, a sandbox database. You apply the migrations to the sandbox database, and if everything is okay, you proceed to the next step, which is trying to compile the .NET code. You can also try applying this migration to the actual production server, but you might understand how bad of an idea that is if you are currently running a perfectly fine service. All right? We are assuming that you have a service running, it's doing fine, but now you want to make some changes to it to make it better, or worse, depending on what you want. So don't touch anything in production that's running unless you are as sure as you can possibly be that everything won't blow up when it runs. And when I say blow up, I mean that the application will start, it will accept requests, and if those requests blow up your server, that's a completely different problem. Right? But people need to be able to reach the server again to get feedback on whether or not it's running. Now, so here you start to see the picture, right? I have a very complicated integration script. I'm going to write it out. So we clone the repo. We try to build the new repo. If that succeeds, we copy over the builds files. And then we change a symlink on the server, which basically means setting the new directory for the files. And then I restart the service. Only when I absolutely know that my .NET application won't crash. Why? Because it's an automatic script. It's going to restart the service, and it should be smart about it. If it is unable to run it to begin with, it should not close down the server, because it will just break the experience. But now, with the database update, because this is just one extra service that is running, by the way, side by side. We clone the repo, which will give us information on the migrations. Then we will use the .NET EF database update command, preferably if we can find out how on a copy of the production database, or at least one that has the migrations. Now, thankfully, with migrations, you can run every migration from start to finish to just see if it doesn't break the schemas, which is the ideal test. So we try to apply all the schemas. If that works, we can be sure that we can move on to the actual code to see if the code works. And then instead of restarting the server, we first copy over the build files, right? Then, or well, it depends what order you want, right? You only want to restart the service, right? Get this, after you have shut down the database and the service. So I will now stop the services, apply the EF update, the database update, and then well, do the symlink or whatever and restart the service. So now you might be able to actually apply this update during a live production server, but the problem is if this code is trying to access something that you now remove during the next migration, it's going to break your server unnecessarily. Now you can figure out a way to make this integration better, right? I'm just making some draft code here. It's not ideal, it has some catches, but now you understand why you don't adjust other services within your Blazor application. These are two completely different issues, and you get absolutely no ability to control this if this goes wrong from within the application itself. You cannot control what to do next on the actual integration level.